In this video, we're gonna learn how to build fast, modern, custom websites without having to write a single line of code ourselves. So if you think you don't need code to learn it or that you won't ever find any use for it, let me tell you right here and right now that you're mistaken, and here's why. For those who have never dabbled in coding before, the very sight of it can be overwhelmingly alien. There's all these numbers and symbols and colors, and it all looks like something straight out of the Matrix. If you haven't been exposed to it before, that is. But guess what? Coding isn't difficult. Not anymore. Well, it is, but it isn't really. It may not be easy in the traditional sense, but thanks to AI, ChatGPT, it's become far more accessible to the everyday person. You see, all you need to really comprehend now is the underlying logic and a handful of some high-level concepts, and ChatGPT or any other large language model will do the rest for you. Because coding at its core is a series of instructions. It's a continuous chain of if this, then that, and if that, then that, but if that, then definitely not that. You get my point, I hope. As long as you can write it out step by step, what you want to build and what you want your application or program to do, then you can build it. And even if you cannot write code, even if you do not speak the code language, like yours truly, you can now have ChatGPT do it for you. Now, you might be thinking, why should I bother with code if I'm not a programmer or if I don't intend to become one ever? Well, it's a fair question, but here's the deal, that just by knowing code, just by knowing the fundamentals enough to ask ChatGPT for help, you can unlock a completely new domain of thinking and problem solving in your head. And once you've done this, you will intuitively start noticing in all areas of your life around you where you can start leveraging code to do away with tedious tasks. So now, without any further ado, let's look at how we can build our own first modern, fast, custom website without having to write a single line of code ourselves. The first thing you want to know with ChatGPT is that to successfully build modern websites, fast websites, and have the best possible outputs of code from ChatGPT is to use the paid plus version to get the subscription actually. Because this way you're going to get access to the GPT-4 model. And another option that just launched is the Anthropic's Cloud version 2. So you can just head to cloud.ai. And this one is actually free to use, and reportedly it's even slightly better than ChatGPT. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to keep using ChatGPT for now. So to successfully build a website with ChatGPT without writing a single line of code ourselves, we need 5 things. The first one is Homebrew, then we need to install Node.js, then we need a code editor like Visual Studio Code, a GitHub account, and we also need a Vercel account. So let's just start tackling these one by one. It's all very easy. First thing, we head to google.com and we search for Homebrew. And once we're on the Homebrew website, there is a snippet of code here under install Homebrew. You can press Command space, you type in terminal, click enter, and you open up your terminal. Then you take this snippet of code from Homebrew website, copy it, and you paste it in the terminal and you just click enter. Next, it's going to ask for your admin password, and we're installing the Homebrew. So while this is installing, we can already start working on installing the Node.js. So we needed Homebrew to install Node. So next thing we do is we just type in Node into the Homebrew website. We find the Node, and here is the code to install Node.js. So we just copy that code. We now have Homebrew installed. We paste it in, and then we have Node.js is already installing, as you can see here. So next step, we needed a code editor, and I recommend using the Visual Studio Code. So we head back to Google and we Google Visual Studio Code. We just go to the website, hit this download button here. And while this is downloading, we can next go to GitHub. So github.com, and we create an account here in GitHub. So I'm going to just click sign up. And then you just follow all the steps until you have created your GitHub account. It's all very straightforward and easy, and you don't need to see me doing this. So once we have the Visual Studio Code downloaded, we're just gonna unzip it by double clicking on it. And then we're gonna drag and drop it into our applications folder. So now that we have a GitHub account, we should also download the GitHub desktop app, as that's going to make our lives way easier. So we just launch our Google and Google GitHub desktop app. So we just download this quickly. installing GitHub Desktop, and we download the GitHub Desktop app and download it for Mac. So we have our GitHub Desktop application. We're just going to install it now and launch it. And last step, now that everything else is done, we're going to go to vercel.app and we're going to log into Vercel using our GitHub account. So we're just going to go here, click sign up. You're a hobbyist, your name, click continue. And we're going to click continue with GitHub, and you're just going to create an account with GitHub and log in with GitHub. So these two accounts are instantly connected already. And when you log in, you won't have anything here, but I've been using Vercel before, so I have some projects set up. So now that we have everything set up, we can actually start building our website using ChatGPT. So let's now head to our ChatGPT, open up the code interpreter, and we're going to type hello, Mr. ChatGPT. And you don't want to skip this step. You want to be on good terms with the AI when the robot uprising happens. So I recommend not to skip this one. Please write the code for me for a single page landing page for my new, let's say, AI consulting service website. I want the page to have a header section with a menu on top. So we're essentially just describing to ChatGPT what we want our web page to look like. I want the menu and the header on top. Then I want to have a hero section with a heading and a call to action and a button. And beneath that, let's have 2 customer testimonials and then list my services. And in the end, add a contact form. So this one is a pretty rough description of the website we want to build, but the more detail you add to yours, the better your result is going to be. Let's also tell it to please fill the website with dummy content. And then at the end, we're going to add use Next.js and Tailwind. So Next.js is a web development language, and it's based on React, which is a framework for JavaScript. You don't have to know any of these terms. Just know that Next.js is the most common and, in this case, most easy to use coding language to build these very fast and modern websites. Don't get me wrong, this is by no way actually an easy task, because what we're doing essentially is pretty advanced coding, but ChatGPT just makes it easier for us, way easier than it would be to learn all of this. And Tailwind it's a styling language, so it's gonna help make our website look cool. So how would you usually know what to use if you're not familiar with coding? Well, these things come with time, and you either research the things, the tools, the frameworks to use, or as in this case, somebody just recommends them to you, as I am recommending them to you now. So when you're building websites like this, I recommend using Next.js and Tailwind CSS. So let's hit enter and see what ChatGPT comes up with. So as we can see, it's telling us that it can definitely help us code the structure for our basic landing page. And it's even making sure that we install the necessary packages for Next.js and Tailwind CSS. And we can do this by running the following commands in our terminal. Now, the terminal that we used before to install Brew and Node.js, you can definitely do everything here. But since we are now building a website, the terminal and command prompt on your computer are both great to run software, run programs, run tasks locally. But if you actually want to build something that you can publish to other people and these bigger undertakings, bigger projects, you want to use a code editor. And that's why we downloaded the Visual Studio Code. And fortunately for us, Visual Studio Code has its own built-in terminal. So now that we have all this code here, we need to input the code somewhere, and that's where our code editor comes in. But before we do that, we want to now launch our GitHub desktop account and log into the account. We already have our GitHub account, so we just click sign in. We're gonna open it with the GitHub desktop. It's just gonna log us in, and we're golden. So now that we have this set up, the next thing we want to do is to create a new repository on our local hard drive. So think of repositories as just projects. So essentially, we're creating our first website. So we're going to create our first project. I'm going to click this create a new repository on your hard drive here. Let's give it a name. Let's give it my first website. Perfect. I'm going to click create repository, and then I'm gonna click this button here, open in Visual Studio Code, because GitHub desktop account and Visual Studio Code get along very well, so they're already connected. I'm gonna click this button, our Visual Studio Code pops up. We're just gonna click yes, I trust the authors. You can close the second window here and see our project is here and it's ready to go. So let's look at what ChatGPT gave us earlier. There's a lot of code here. So the first step that it's telling us to do is to install the necessary packages for Next.js and Tailwind CSS. So we have npx create next app at latest and TypeScript. When you ask it to generate a website for you, it might not give you this exact snippet of code, but our first step that we have to do now when building a new website is to basically install or create the Next.js app. And I know that I actually do not want to use TypeScript anyway, so I'm gonna just delete the TypeScript from here. But how would you know if you're doing this the first time? Well, if you just Google Next.js, it's going to take us to the Next.js webpage, and we can see that the website itself has given us the same code here. So we can just copy paste it from this website as well, and we're always going to know that it's going to give us the latest version of Next.js. So I'm going to paste this code here that I just copied. So now it's going to ask us a few questions, and we just need to follow it through step by step. It's telling us that it needs to install the following packages. Okay, yes, I accept it. We type Y and click enter. Then it's asking us for the name of our app, agency website. Click enter. It's asking us if we want to use TypeScript. Let's not use TypeScript. If we want to use ESLint, even though ESLint is very useful, it's a bit more advanced than what we're doing now. So let's skip using ESLint as well. It's going to ask us if we want to use Tailwind CSS. Let's click yes to that. So now it's asking us to use the source directory. Let's click no. And it's asking us to use the app router, which is recommended. I'm thinking let's not use the app router because this is a recent update and it's only gonna make things more complicated if we're building a simple landing page website right now. So let's select no for the app router. We're gonna click enter and we are not going to change the import alias, and now the Next.js app is being created. And as that is going on in the background, let's explore our website code that ChatGPT created for us. So this is what it's telling us. We can structure our app like this. And here's a bunch of code, and we don't really know what to do with it or anything, right? So in this case, we can ask ChatGPT, how do I put the code into my Next.js app and where do I put it? Okay, so it's telling us that we want to create a new file in the pages directory of my Next.js application, and it should be named index.js or index.tsx if we're using TypeScript, which we're not. So we want to create a new file named index.js. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code. Let's open up our agency website directory and pages. And we can already see that there already is an index.js file here. And when we click on it, we can see that it already contains a bunch of code. But I can tell you right now that this is the template page and we don't want to use that. Instead, we want to build our own page with the help of ChatGPT. So we're going to go back to ChatGPT now and copy the full code that it gave us for the index.js page. We're just going to click copy code on the top right corner here. We're going to head back to our Visual Studio Code. We're going to delete all the code that was here before, the template page, and we're going to paste in our own code and then click save. And now that we have all this code here, how do we actually see the page? How do we actually get it running? Well, let's ask ChatGPT. How do I run this page so I can see it? So now it's telling us that to run our Next.js application, we have to follow these steps. Open a terminal window. Okay, we have the terminal window open here right now. Start the development server by running the command npm run dev. So we're just going to copy the code, npm run dev, paste it in here and click enter. One important thing that you have to pay attention to here is to check your path that you're actually in the right directory. So right before where we write our commands, you can see that the directory is my first website. And this has to be the name of the folder your working files are in. In case you're not in your working folder, you should just type cd and then enter your folder name. And that's going to take you into your working folder where you can run this command. And now we see that everything is ready and our server has started. So we're just going to click on this URL here and voila. This is our first website built with ChatGPT. It doesn't look perfect right now. Obviously, you wouldn't upload it like this, but it does have everything that we asked for. It has the header section with the menu, and when you move your mouse over it, these things change. There's a hover effect. We have our hero section with the heading, the subheading, and a button. And we have the services listed, and we have the testimonials listed, and our contact form. So now if we want to start making the website look better, if we want to start improving it and to get it more good looking, we can just ask ChatGPT to start changing around these things. So the first thing that I would like to see here is a hover effect. Let's say that when I move my mouse over the contact button, I would love to see some sort of a color change or something. And these services, well, there should be more text here. The services should have a heading and let's say 2 paragraphs of text each. And I would love to put them inside boxes with nice curved edges and have 3 of them. And when I move my mouse over the boxes, so the boxes would hover a bit and change as well. So let's tell all that to ChatGPT and ask it to implement these changes. Please add a hover effect for the call to action button, a slight color shift for the services, put each service inside a white box with a gray outline, and curve the edges of the boxes. Each box should also cast a shadow, and when I move my mouse over the box, then it should hover a bit in an interactive way. So we can just use human language and describe what we want to ChatGPT and let it generate everything for us. Then we also want each service should have a heading and 2 paragraphs of text. So I'm going to click enter and let's see what ChatGPT comes back to us with. Okay, now we have a lot more code than we had before. So I'm just going to click the copy button, go back to our Visual Studio Code, delete everything that we have here, paste in the new code, click save, and let's go over to our website to see what changed. Okay, awesome. Now we have the hover effect on our call to action button, and we have 3 boxes for the services. Each has a paragraph of text, and when we move our mouse over them, they hover and they cast an even bigger shadow. So this is now how you can start building out the website. I recommend finding some inspiration and then just describing to ChatGPT what you want to do and take it step by step, as ChatGPT will guide you through the build. And the more you do this, the better you will get. But right now, this website only exists on our own computer. So how do we take this and launch it to the internet? So let's say our potential clients can find and visit the website. Well, the next step that we have to do is then basically upload all the files that we have here on our computer locally. And to do that, you can either go to your GitHub desktop account or Visual Studio Code. And you can see that the Visual Studio Code has 17 changes recorded here, and so does the GitHub desktop account. They're both connected. So let's head to the source control, and here we see all our changes listed. So these are basically files that are in your repository, and the changes signify which files are different on your computer from the ones that have been uploaded to GitHub. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this plus button here to accept all the changes. And then we're going to add a message. We can't really skip this step because we need to add a message. And this message is just an internal note for ourselves, so we can look back in the future and figure out what we were doing here, what we changed in our code. So this is a good way to keep track. And in this case, we just created a website. So I'm going to write creation of website. I'm going to click commit, publish branch, allow. I'm going to open the Visual Studio Code. Click the don't ask again, open, connect everything up. This is just something you have to do on the first run. And now it's asking us if we want to publish a private or a public repository. Let's make this private. We're publishing it. And now the files have been uploaded to the internet. Okay, but how do we see our website? Well, we still have the Vercel. Remember, you created the Vercel account. So Vercel is the hosting service. So what we're going to do now is head to vercel.app. Then we're going to click the add new button here, and we're going to create a new project. And over here, I have more things, but since you just created your account, you're probably going to have the only project that you created, which in this case for this tutorial is the My First Website. I'm going to click import. Now, if you want to, you can rename the project. I'm going to leave the name the same. Then we're going to select the framework preset, which is going to be Next.js. Then we're going to select the root directory, and we're going to select the agency website because that's the folder that contains all our files for our website. I'm going to click continue, and then we're just going to click and hit deploy. And now the website is deploying, and this is probably going to take around a minute or so. And now we see a congratulations, and there's confetti and everything. So we've just deployed our new project, our first website to Vercel. So we can click this continue to dashboard. And over here, you can see the domains. So my first website, rosie2.vercel.app. We're just going to click on this link. And as you can see, our website is live. So if we want to now further improve this website and make changes to it, all we have to do is go back to Visual Studio Code. Either we can go here and change things and text around manually. You can see what to change. Or you can ask ChatGPT to do it for you. And once we change something, let's say we add the word website to the end here, and then we save it. Then we can see that a new change appeared in the source control. So if we want to now deploy this change to the online website that we have here, that's hosted on the internet, public to everybody, then we can accept this change, add a note for ourselves. So in this case, this would be copywriting update. We can click commit and sync our changes. And now, since we have everything set up, this is being deployed to Vercel automatically. So any minute now, our website, the online website, is going to change and be updated. We can actually keep track of this when we go to this Vercel project, and we can see that the upcoming change, the copywriting update, is currently building. So as soon as this finishes building, we can see that the status changed to ready. And that means when I go here and I refresh the website now, we see this change reflected. And it is really that easy. But then one last step, I don't think when you're finding clients and you're building a business that you want your website URL to be my first website rosie2.vercel.app. You probably want a .com address or something fancier. So in this case, you're just going to go to google.com. You're going to Google by domain name. And we can see plenty of options. Google domains, Namecheap, GoDaddy, bunch of them. The one I like to use is I want my name. Then you open it up. Then you just type in the address you want. And we can see that coolagencywebsite.com is going to cost us 17.27 euros per year. These prices are per year. So you can just add it to cart, buy it. And after you purchase your first domain name and you own it, you can then go back to Vercel, click this little settings button up here, click domains, enter your new domain name that you own, and then you just follow the steps that the site tells you, and that's it. You have your new fancy website up and running. And if you want to learn how to make or build more cool things using AI, then watch this video next.